Hey, this Tony Gaston here popping in. Now on Fridays, I try when I can to do videos man to man. Friday is the man to man day. When I have a topic, and there's been more men reaching out to me in the DM now. Typically, when I hear from a man, and this is the thing what a lot of people don't understand, because a lot of people think that everybody that's sharing information online. Now, when you go to Tony Gaston's Academy, you'll see that I have courses on social media. I have courses on how to create an online course. I have courses on how to write a book, life coach certification. So my goal is to focus on life, love, and business. Not just, I'm not here to pander to women. But the issue that we have in the world is that women seek knowledge and men typically don't. Men seek knowledge on money. So if a man is talking about Bitcoin, he's going to have 90% male followers. If a man is talking about real estate, he's going to have all kind of male followers. If a man is talking about motivation, like grind, hustle, get out there, work, he's going to have all kind of men. But if a man is talking about being a man of integrity, having one woman, getting married, and being 100% faithful to her, without watching pornography, without masturbating, men don't want to hear that. So the issue today is a lot of people like, oh, why y'all only talk to women? Why do people, life coaches, only talk to women? If you notice, look at every woman that's a life coach. How many women life coaches or speakers or authors do you see talking to men? It's the men want to sleep with a woman, not a man. So if anybody could have influence in his life, it's the woman that he want to be with. He want to be with a woman. As a man, most men not going to listen to me, because if a woman is willing to sleep with him, then he don't care about me talking about, hey, don't be trying to sleep with this woman. Don't be trying to, talk her out her draws, cherish her, value her, be a good man, be a man of integrity. He could hear that and it go in one ear and out the other, and that's what happens. But what women do right now, the number one demographic of people pursuing degrees is black women. There is a pursuit of knowledge. Because especially in America, when you look at America, the black woman was put on the lower part of the totem pole. She was at the bottom. So you had the white man, and you had the white woman, then you had the black man, then you had the black woman. If you look at black and white, then of course you have other races, and some of them could fit in there. But at the bottom, America has had the black woman at the bottom. So now that there's no slavery, there is, quote unquote, equal opportunity. Blacks can go to any school they want to go to. Blacks can get a job. Now you see the woman, the black woman who built America on her back. Now she is seeking knowledge. So what you have to understand is that, especially because people say, do video for men. My audience is 96% women. I never once in my life came and said, hey, I want women to follow me. All I did was taught from my mistakes. I say, listen, I was a dog. I was a liar. I was in the streets hustling. I ran this game on women. I ran that game on women. I ran this game on women. I was in the dating just from 15 years old to 21 years old. I met my wife at 21. And then we broke up. I went back to my ex. Then after I left my ex, I went back to my wife. We had been broken up. So really from 15 to 21 was my main experience in the streets with women. So when I wrote my book at 22, my book was for women that's 18 years old to 25 years old. But what I found was women who were in their 30s and 40s and 50s read the book. And then women started asking questions. And I was on a what's teleseminar? It was I was on a teleseminar that a black woman, a sister, she was PR and she was building, she was big, she was building, and she had a guy who is a white male on her show. So when it came to monetizing and doing this stuff in this area, back when I started in 2007, it was really just Caucasians. I did not know, when I became a life coach, I didn't know of a African American life coach. I had never heard the term. I was on a teleseminar and the man said, if you have written a book, I'm like, do I have on triple volume lashes? I'm like, my God, my lash kept getting stuck. No, I ain't got no lashes on. I go on somewhere now with that. So the man said, if you have written a book and people are coming to you and they want to talk about your book and they have questions about your book, he said that's going to take time from whatever you're doing, your family, your job. So what you should do is you need to put a price on your time. You need to charge for your time to do one-on-one sessions. And you can be a coach on the topic that you wrote on. This is what the man said. It's a white gentleman named Steve Harrison. And then he said later, he said, if you have, so I was 23, I had turned 23 a month after I wrote my book. So I took and charged $25 because I was on Facebook. I got on Facebook and I was friending all these people trying to promote my book, and MySpace was in, and I was friending all these people. And then some people started reading my book. It was my first royalty check said 70 books sold. So okay, let's say 70 people read the book. It was probably 5 people that had reached out and said, hey, I read your book, but I had a question about this right here. And then so I was answering people. When I say 5 people, I mean 5 paid people. That's when it went to. But at first, people was writing me, and I'm just answering. I'm answering all these questions from people who saw my book. They wanted to know more. You don't know why people writing you. You don't know if people are writing you because you don't know if a woman writing you. You don't, as a man, you don't know if she is wondering if you married. You don't know if she may be attracted to you. You don't know the real reason she asking you the question. But I'm in the inbox on Facebook and I'm just answering questions. And it started getting draining. It was draining because you're pouring out from yourself. And I was 23 years old. The last time I sold drugs was at 23 because I went back to the streets after writing my book. I published February 1st. I was back in the streets in June. I wasn't out there long because I got married in March. So when my wife found out I went back to the street, that's when she left for those 3 days. But here's what happened. I'm draining myself in the inbox. So when the man said that, the man named Steve Harrison, he still exists today. You could Google him. Steve Harrison. He do PR summits. He do summits to where he bring all the producers from TV shows, and you could go and pitch yourself. And so the man and the lady who had him on, her name is Pam Perry. And the reason why I'm sharing names for this is to give credit where credit is due, because I just found out today, it's people who taking my information from my courses and repackaging it and making tens of thousands of dollars a month. So without even saying my name. And I'm like, okay, wow, if you want to do that, at least say, hey, I got this from Tony Gaskins, or I was trained by Tony Gaskins. So that's why I'm saying their names. Give credit where credit is due. And this was 2007. You hear me? And so I turned 23 the next month after I published. And then when that guy said you can charge $25 an hour, and y'all got to forgive me, I'm remembering the story 14 years ago. That was news to me. I said, okay, let me try this. So when the next person wrote me, I said, hey, thank you so much. I would love to help you, but unfortunately right now I can only work with my clients. If you'd like to sign up for a session, let me know. And the person said, okay, how much is it? I said $25. $25 an hour. In 2007, I was 23. She said, okay, cool. How do I pay? I can't even remember how you pay back then. I don't even know how I got paid back then. I don't know what that was. But so $25. Oh, probably with PayPal. So $25, I get on the call. At this time, I'm working a job. 2007, I started working there May 2006. I'm working in the group home. You start at $8.50 an hour. When you get trained, you do your training, you go to $9 an hour, and then maybe after a year, you go to $9.50. So at this time, I probably was at $9 an hour. I would say no more than $9.50, because my whole 5 years I was there, I was at $9.50 max. And then the last 2 months, they bumped me to $10 an hour. So here I am. I had 2 days off, Tuesday and Wednesday. I said, okay, well, when are you available? I said, well, right now, the only days I have available are Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm booked up the other days. I wasn't telling people that I was working a job as a group home because I wasn't going to claim that. That's not my calling. I said, I'm here for something greater. So I carried myself as a professional author, a professional speaker, because I became a speaker at 22 as well. My first speaking engagement was at Bethune-Cookman. They had just become Bethune-Cookman University from Bethune-Cookman College. I spoke there, and do you know what I charged? I remember the young lady, can't remember her name. Maybe her name was Ashley or Amber or something. I feel like it started with an A. And I remember she said, how much do I pitched to her. I said, hey, I'm Tony Gaston, author of What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl. I would love to talk to the college students because the book is for people ages 18 to 25. And she said, okay, well, we have a show coming up, the one-man show. It's on HIV and AIDS with Devin Robinson, I think his name was. She said, we can add you to that show. And I said, okay, cool. And she was like, what's your fee? And I was like, I can't remember. We was on the phone. I said, well, just take care of my gas, because I was driving from Tampa to Daytona. Tampa, Florida to Daytona, Florida. I said, just take care of my gas. So $65. So she said, okay, all right. She probably fell out her seat laughing. She said, okay, well, let me talk to the board about it. Now that I know, I'm like, wow, sister, you could have just told me. Really, $65? Like, sister, you could have put me on game now. Just said, at least told me, what? The minimum we've ever paid is $500, sir. She didn't tell me. I got there and she said, what about your rider? And I say, well, I'll be riding with my daddy. And she said, no, you're right. She said, you know what a rider is? Like, a rider is like what you need in your dressing room. So I Googled, if we had Google back then. I don't know if we had Google. I think we had Google, 2007. I Googled rider, and it come up like a list of what you need. And so then I seen either from her or from what my search, it was like certain people rider. I think it was like either Teddy Riley rider or Jamie Foxx rider. It was showing different celebrities riders, and it would be like lemon pepper baked chicken with only Fiji water with this and that. So I said, well, I would like some chicken wings and some pineapples, because I love pineapples because they were sweet. I don't eat it no more. And I love chicken wings because that's what I come from, chicken wings. So sure enough, I got that they had some chicken wings and they had some pineapples. And she handed me a $65 check. And I remember my wife bought me a new Mesquite outfit. Wow, it was complete. You hear me? I had a Mesquite shirt on, Mesquite jeans with some fresh Air Force Ones. And boy, we thought that was because the Mesquite was like $100 back then. $100 for the jeans, $100 for the shirt, or a little more. And my wife bought that for me. At this time, she was my fiance. This was February. We got married in March. And I remember I wrote my speech on a paper. I showed it to my dad in the dressing room. He took and rewrote everything. He said, no, son, no, do this. Blah, blah, blah. So he went through new bullet points. I stood up there and I read off that paper. Read them bullet points. I was so nervous. After it, I was so happy. And I remember the lady said, she said, I could tell you and your dad are so happy. We were so happy. And I had my books there. I sold 15 books. I think $10 a piece. I made $150 from the book sales. The books cost me $8 a piece to print. So everybody think that it's just so much money. The book was written for women, because I gave advice to a friend of mine, a woman friend of mine that I grew up with, and she said, Tony, you need to write a book. That's how it came about. I said, get me 10 questions. She talked to her friends at school and she brought me questions. And she said, basically, answer these questions. I said, I'm going to answer these questions, no holds barred, from a male perspective. There was no social media involved in this. There was no celebrities involved with this. There was no blueprint for this. There was nobody that was doing this. Steve Harvey wrote his book in 2009. This was 2007. There was no blueprint for this. And so I did that, and guess what? There was no money in it. There was no money in it. And when the man said you could be paid, I said, okay. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I started doing coaching sessions, $25 an hour. And I probably was no more than $75 an hour for the first 10 years. I was at 25 and I was there for probably 2-3 years. And then I go to 35. Then I went to 45. Then I went to 55. Then I came back down to 35 because I struggled with charging, because I felt like nothing and I felt worthless. So I struggled with charging people money for my time and for the value and the insight that I was providing. I struggled with charging. And so even today on my mentor.life, my fee is $330 an hour, but I've been doing this 14 years and one of the top life coaches in the country at $330 an hour. In 2012, a Caucasian businessman told me that I should be charging no less than $500 an hour. That was 2012. We in 2021 and my fee on my mentor is $330 an hour. Then for people who need a VIP session, they pay $600 an hour, but those are people who it's something that they need to be in. We literally get them in and they jump the line. So if I'm 2-3 months out, they in within 2 days. My wife handles those bookings. And the reason why I did that is just because it was at 500. But then there was so many people that kept booking it, and I just was like, man, I'm drained. So whenever you get drained, you have to go up on your prices on your products or your services so that you start to kind of weed out and you kind of get you helping and working with the people, or if you're selling a product, it's with the people that really value what you're doing. Now, even at that, based on my income, based on what you're supposed to charge in coaching, what you're supposed to charge, you're supposed to take this is how the industry tell you to figure out your coaching price. They tell you to take your year salary and divide it get it down to what you make per hour. Divided by 52 weeks, divided by 40 hours a week. What you make per hour, and then multiply that by 3. So if I do that, because of my dividends, my payments, my earnings from my tech companies, my academies, my businesses, my coaching charge is well over if I use that thing right there, I would be charging well over $7,000 an hour. So even on my VIP sessions, this is what people have to understand about when you coaching, that it have to be with your heart. It can't just be about money. When I'm on a VIP session, I am losing thousands of dollars in that hour. Because I could be further developing my mentor.life. I could be further developing Tony Gaskins Academy. I could be further developing GaskinsUniversity.com. I could be further developing CharacterUniversity.com. I could be writing my next book that will come after Make It Work and A Woman's Influence. So I could be doing something that could reach and help tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people, but instead I'm on the phone helping one person out of 3.3 million supporters online. I'm working with one person for an entire hour. Now, if you are a parent or you are in a relationship, you understand. Let me ask you, how often do you get to talk to your child for a complete undivided hour? It's like you get your child after school, if they have practice or they have homework, they have dinner, you talking through that time. But when you look at it all together, you may say, wow, we talked for maybe 30 minutes undivided attention. But a full hour, and this is what a coach is giving to someone outside of their household. If you get a full hour with your child, that's priceless, because your time is not redeemable. You can't get it back. So this is one of the things that people don't understand with the misconceptions with life coaching, is they think that, oh, it's just a sham. Oh, it's just, no, this is your time and your value. And this is something that it has taken you decades to get that wisdom, and you're giving this time. And so the price that you put on that, what you're giving is priceless. The money is not going to add an hour to your life. You still just gave an hour of your life away that you will never get back. That on your deathbed, for every hour I've spent talking to a stranger who bumped into me online, I will wish that I never did one-on-one sessions, and that I spent those hours talking to my wife or talking to my children. I will wish that. And the money will not mean anything to me. And so this is what people have to understand. And so for me, it was just putting one foot in front of the other. I wrote a book. Then after writing that book, it was, okay, what's next? They said, oh, if you're an author, Steve Harrison, he said, if you're an author, you should be a speaker. You can pitch yourself to event planners and the people who do events. And for every book you write, you can add $2,000 to your speaking fee. Well, my speaking fee was $65. That was 2007. My next speaking fee was 2010. 3 years, no speaking engagements after becoming an author. 3 years, no speaking engagements. Coaching at the max on a good week for clients at $25 an hour. For 3 whole years, the 7, 8, 9, technically 10, so it's really like 4 years when you count the year of 10. In 2010, my Twitter started to grow. And people started following me for my quotes. I was quoting all day long. At this time, 2010, Steve Harvey wrote his book in 2009. Rev Run was on Twitter, and he was the motivator for all the celebrities. And then you had Russell Simmons, and then it was me. When you look at, they did a list, Black Web 2.0, they did a list, top 100 black men on Twitter in 2010. I was number 25. But on that whole list, other than Rev Run, I was the only other person that just tweeted quotes. But I was a regular guy because I was working in the group home in 2010 at $9.50 an hour. But on social media, they thought that I was making money. They thought I was paid. Because of my brand, because I went on Oprah in 2009. But I went on Oprah to tell my story at the highest stage in the land so that I could then do the work that I'm doing, because I did not want to be trying to help without exposing myself. So that's why I told that story on Oprah. After Oprah, I told it on Tyra. After Tyra, I told my street life story on the 700 Club. 2010, a young lady was following me. She DM'd me and she said, Tony, I do the PR for this church. I think the church was in like St. Paul, Minnesota or somewhere like that. And she said, we're getting ready to have a relationship retreat for our church members. And I see that you tweet about relationships sometimes. What is your fee? My last speaking engagement before that was $65 in 2007, but because she saw the picture of me and Oprah, she assumed that I was booked and busy. No, I was working 40 hours a week in a group home, balancing the dream, which is living a life of purpose, with the job until the dream became the job. And so I said, well, sis, just tell me what y'all can afford and I'll let you know if I can accept it. She said, okay, Tony, our budget is $1,500. My Adam apple hit the bottom of my stomach because at that time I was making $1,200 a month. My check was like $680, and I get paid bi-weekly. So sometimes it'll fall in a month where you get 3 checks in a month, like because the first day of the month is like a payday, and then 2 weeks later, sometimes you get 3 checks in a month, but typically you get 2 checks in a month. You get paid bi-weekly, and my check bring home was $680. So you look at $1,200 plus $160, so $1,360 was my bring home pay. When she said $1,500 plus flight, they pay for your flight, they pay for your hotel, and they get your ground transportation. Somebody pick you up. But I had to act like I had been there before. I had to act like I was used to it because she looking at a picture of me and Oprah that was my background. And then she could see author in my bio. So I said, well, you know what, I'll accept that. I was blown away. And I went up there, my message, this was my second time speaking publicly to adults. In between these 3 years, I was going to speaking at Boys and Girls Club. It's free of charge. Speaking at Boys and Girls Club, stuff like that. Speaking in classrooms to kids on the Great American Teaching, stuff like that. But I'm talking to kids. I'm confident in front of the kids. But I'm going and I'm talking to adults about love and relationships. About Adam laying down his life for Eve. And I pulled from that story about it's a husband's place to lay down his life, to be willing to lay down his life for his wife. Their bishop was like the head bishop over like 12 churches. He was single. So the faces he was making while I was talking, it was messing me up because he was like, and I was serious, and the people was laughing. Someone was laughing because I was 26, and the audience was 50 up. I'm like, woman, why you bring me up here? These people 50. The oldest person in there literally had to be 85 years old. I was so upset with the lady who booked me. But what happened is it was women. It was black women that was in these positions of power. Sometimes they would just book you because they see you online and they just want to meet you and just see if you live what you teach, see if you real. So sometimes the booking person is booking you for them and not really realizing that you ain't good for this audience. You should never have a 26-year-old speaking to an audience of 50-year-olds to 90-year-olds. It's like these people have been here twice, 3 times the amount of time I've been here. I need to be sitting down and learning from them, but I didn't know that's what it was gonna be. And so I got there, and they paid me the $1,500, and I was like, wow. The next month, I got a DM from another black lady, African American lady, and in her bio said that she was a manager back then for like a big rapper, and that she worked in like management and stuff. And so I got a coaching session here at 3. And so, I had this rule. I created my own marketing rules. And so what my marketing rules was if somebody retweets me 2 times, I DM them and say, hey, thank you so much for the support. If I can ever be of assistance, here's my email. And I give my email. And she responded and said, hey, Tony, no problem at all. My aunt works for the NBA and the NFL as a health consultant, and I think you would be a great role model for those young men. And I wrote her back and I said, hey, thank you so much. Well, let's set up a call. I was at the group home. My clients are behavior intensive, so they needed 24-hour supervision. I left them in the house by themselves and went out into the backyard to get on this call with this young lady and her aunt. And her aunt said, "Hey, baby." I thought I was about to be talking to somebody that's going to be kind of rude, kind of condescending, somebody like with a doctorate degree and let it go to their head. But this lady was just like me. She's self-taught, out the mud, no degree, no type of accolades that she penned. She could have had a degree, but she didn't mention it. She didn't talk about it. And she sounded like she could have been my grandma, my auntie. She said, "Hey, baby, I heard about you from Sheila." I think the young lady was named Sheila or Sheena. "I heard about you from Sheila, and I ain't got that Tweeter bird now. I ain't got that Tweeter bird, but we be in the office and she be reading them to me. She be reading, what you said? Woo, baby, that thing was good. What you said? Woo, she be reading that to me. That come from you? How old you is?" I said, "I'm 26. "What? Ooh, baby." She said, "You know what? You will be perfect for these little boys." She said, "I work with the NBPA." She said, not the NBA now, NBPA. That stands for National Basketball Players Association. And she said, we do a camp called the Top 100. And it's the top 100 high school athletes in the country. I'm going to call Lou Persson and I'm going to talk to her for you. And we're going to set up a call because I think you will be a great example for these young men. So now at this time, 26, now I've been married for 3 years. You know, I'm still in a place in my life. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm struggling. I'm trying to decide which route to take because now I done got a few thousand followers on Twitter. And so now it's about to get real. And that's when I still was in my life and I was still struggling because I'm still like, man, you know, who am I? Am I growing? Am I changing? Like, am I gonna be an influencer, like a person that could impact the world? Like, I seen this vision when I was 7 years old of having a platform for Christ. But I had still been struggling in my life when how I talk to people, how I treat people, choices I was making. And so when that happened, it kind of started to push me into purpose because I'm like, okay, you can't slip up and fall no more because now people starting to count on you. And so at that time, for some reason, I was in New York and my homeboy from where I'm from is Tracy McGrady. He was playing on the New York Knicks. I was in New York for something. I don't know if it was radio or if it was, I don't know why I was in New York, but I caught the train or something to where he stayed at in White Plains, New York. And I remember being in his skyrise. I was in his skyrise condo or whatever. Yeah, I'm looking out over the view. And I had that phone call with Miss Sandra, we call her Miss Mac, and Lou Persson. And they talked to me. And I remember Lou Persson. I told Lou Persson about this story later, and she cut my pay after I told it to her. Because they looking at a picture of me with Oprah. So nobody seen the show because it was a live airing and it was never aired again because that was me telling my story of being a toxic, controlling, no good man in college when I was playing college football. And that was me telling my story, and that show was in light of the Chris Brown and Rihanna situation. So Oprah had said some things on the show that, like, you have to say allegedly, and she kept saying, like, almost like saying like he was already guilty. And she was saying it because there was pictures out there, but legally you got to say allegedly. And I remember seeing her because the show was live. It was impromptu, it was live. And I remember seeing her coming back from commercial and say, hey, I made a mistake before commercial and I need to repeat this. Allegedly, he has done this to her. And so I think because of those issues, they never aired it again. And I was on there telling my story of the situation that I went through in college, to where it was a breakup, it was some infidelity, you know, some lies, some distrust on my girlfriend's behalf. Things got out of hand. There was no black eye, there was no bust lips, there was no police call, there was no charges or anything. But I took that and I said, listen, this was a toxic situation, this is still, although it wasn't what I'm seeing on TV with these pictures that I'm seeing of this celebrity woman, although it wasn't that, it's still lessons that could be taught from this. And I have been pitching myself to Oprah every single day, and to Tyra Banks, and to CNN every single day, because I wanted to tell my story, because I wanted to be a help for the greater good. I started pitching at 23. I got on the show at 25. That's how bad I wanted to tell my story and to help. Again, at this time, there was no examples. There was no blueprint. I had been writing in fake as a woman to the Strawberry Letter on Steve Harvey thing. And what I would do is I learned how to pitch the way I would write in, and I'd tell this story, and I mention my book. But I forgot that I did that. And I remember my homeboy from where I grew up at, he was like a personal trainer, and he would train me in the summers for football. He said, hey man, they mentioned your book on Steve Harvey Morning Show. I said, what? I said, no, they didn't, man, because they didn't call me. I don't know them. They ain't talk to me. How they mention my book? But I heard this like 2 or 3 times. And then later, years later, it hit me. I say, I wonder if they finally got to one of them letters that I wrote, trying to plant my book in there. And so I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe that's how they heard about me, and that's how they heard about my book. Because the lady who read the Strawberry Letter, she later started following me on Twitter. Is it Shirley Strawberry? She later started following me on Twitter. Maybe she just seen me being retweeted. But when Steve Harvey's book came out, it had the 90-day rule in it. And my book had the 3-month rule. 3 months is 90 days. In my book in 2007, the 3-month rule is saying this is how long a man will wait to sleep with you if he's all the way into you. Because at that time in my life when I wrote the book, 22 years old, I didn't believe that a man will wait until marriage. So I was saying in that book I wrote, a player will wait 30 days. A man who's serious about you and talking to you every single day will wait 90 days. So that was my 90-day rule, but I call it the 3-month rule. In Steve Harvey book, the writer took and said the 90-day rule, and that I never read the book, but from what I understood of it, it was kind of saying like, to me it said don't sleep with a man in 90 days, within 90 days, and that they have a probationary period on the job, and that you should have a probationary period in your relationship. Now, that could have been a coincidence, or the young lady who helped write the book could have known who I was from Twitter and read my book and was inspired by that, or it could have been a complete coincidence. I ain't had no money to try to go file no lawsuit, plagiarism. Later, Steve Harvey started following me on Twitter. I think Ayanna Van Zant started following me on Twitter, Shirley Strawberry. So I just was out there, I'm like, hey, that could be a coincidence. It could be something to where, minds think alike. But I was totally different than what Steve was doing, because he had been a comedian for 25 years at that time. I jumped off the porch with a heart to help when I changed my life. I hadn't had any other career. And so with his situation, to me, it kind of took the wind out my sails, because it looked like, because he was so big, he could get there first. He became the voice. But being on his 3rd marriage, and I got married at 23, and I only have kids from one woman, my wife, I felt some kind of way, because I was like, man, if it's a man that's gonna help, it need to be me, because I'm living what I'm teaching. And I'm not in a 2nd or 3rd marriage, and I'm also trying to reach my generation. Steve was from a different generation, and I'm saying Steve's name because he's a celebrity. Like everybody already know this, you know what I mean? So it's not like I could be telling this story and not know what I'm talking about. So, because he was the only one that wrote a book that was a celebrity. And I believe they say he sold over 3 million copies, and I was just like, wow. So at that point, it made relationship coaching a business. It made it look like a money grab, because he wrote the book and it made millions of dollars, but that was the extent of it. Like, he didn't go on a nationwide or worldwide love and relationship tour and things like that. So people look like, oh, this is a money grab. And so the peons like me that's in the trenches serving every day and tweeting every day and making no money, it kind of it made me look bad. And it made people thought, oh, you just doing this for money. But nobody knew, because I ain't tell my business online. Like, I work in a group home 40 hours a week. They just seen that a picture of me and Oprah, and they seen me, my picture of me and my blazer, and they seen me doing quotes. And from 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., I would do relationship quotes. Throughout the whole day, I was tweeting stuff that would get you through your day. I was tweeting motivation. And then from 10 to 10:30, I would do relationship quotes. And the relationship quotes is the only thing that would really go viral. My only quote, I had other quotes that went viral, but not like the relationship stuff. So just from that, people started seeing me as a relationship guy. And then it was like 2012 is like when the other men that y'all see that do relationship talks, that's when I seen them in 2012. I had been doing it since 2007. The first time I seen another man other than Steve Harvey doing it was like 2012. I could be wrong. It could have started at 2010 or 2011. But you would have to look up the author that you follow that speak on love and relationships. Don't put their names in my comments, because I don't stamp people, because I don't know what people do with their 24 hours a day. So you'll have to go to Amazon and type in their name, and it'll bring up all their books and see when their first book was published. And that'll let you know when they got started in a real way, writing a book. My first book was 2007. I tried to take it out of print, but when I was getting ready to go on Oprah, the publisher who printed it, it was an internet publisher. They called me and said, do you know Oprah just called us? I said, yeah, but she's not going to mention the book. I'm just going on there to tell my story. I need to expose myself before I do this here work. It's like, sir, you don't know what she's going to do. You never know. What if she just mentions it? So they told Amazon that, or they sent a bunch of books. I think they literally sent a lot of books to Amazon. And so even when I took it out of print with them, Amazon still selling my first book, What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl. And I'm still getting royalty checks from that book. And I'm like, why y'all still selling this book? I told y'all take it out of print. And they said, oh, that's Amazon's print. That's Amazon's stack. But they probably have an account with Amazon and they publish through Amazon, just like independent authors publish now. And so I need to write Amazon, but people, the reason why I wanted to take it out of print is because it got a lot of typos in it, a lot of grammar errors. Me and my wife tried to edit it. We're not editors, and it was too blood raw. It was too blood raw. Like, it was where I was 22 years old, so it was telling, it was answering real questions, and it was offending people. It was offending people, especially, Caucasian women. They was getting real offended because it was a chapter in there about why do black men date white women. And at that time, based on what I knew, it was only a couple of reasons why. And boy, the white women who had them a brother, and they, felt like they had real love, but they was mad with me because from my life and my experience, I hadn't seen a man genuinely. Later I did, but at that time I had never seen a black man genuinely into a white woman. Where I'm from in Florida, and even in West Virginia, I had never seen a black man genuinely into a white woman. This was 2007 though. Now I got friends who are black with white wives, and I feel like they genuinely love their wife. And it wasn't for money. It wasn't because the woman easy. It wasn't because it was a come up. But back then, so the white women was getting mad. So then after my brand started to grow, I'm like, man, I need this thing out of print because, I don't want people to be just getting so offended and stuff. I'm just telling, I agreed to tell my truth, no holds barred. And so it's still being sold today. Still being sold today. People still got it. People still bring it to a seminar and ask me to sign it. And so from there, it was like 2009, 2010. That next speaking engagement, I was on the phone in Tracy, high rise. And the lady said, Tony, we can't offer you what you normally used to getting paid. Again, she's seen Oprah, so people making assumptions. She had no clue that I was working 40 hours a week for $9.50 an hour, and she said all we can afford to pay you is $2,500, and I was like, so I'm bringing home $1,360 a month. When she say $2,500, I'm ready to get up there and talk for 8 weeks for that $2,500. I said, well, okay. Okay. Well, how long would you like me to speak? She said 20 minutes. I'm 26 years old at that time. And you offer me $2,500 to talk to 15 to 18-year-old boys about choices, decisions, and consequences for $2,500. That's when I started to realize what the guy Steve Harrison was talking about, because he was talking about if you're an author, you could be a speaker, and if you wrote a book, your minimum fee need to be $2,000. I didn't give anybody a fee. I just asked them what they could afford, what their budget was, because remember, my worth, the last time I put a value on myself, it was $65. So, and them people probably still were laughing at me every board meeting. Do y'all remember that little young man saying give $65? They probably laughing so hard. But so honestly, I would have did it for free. Honestly, if I would have got $500, I would have been like, whoa, this is amazing, because you live in your purpose, you helping people, and you being paid for that. It don't feel like work. So it was $2,500. So I did that $2,500. So right now, I've made, in that year, 2010, I'm at $4,000 in speaking fees. And those months was back to back. It was like one was in May, the next one was in June. Then after I spoke for 20 minutes. I spoke from the heart. I was more comfortable there because I was a college athlete, and I got kicked off my football team because I was just not focused, not giving my all. And so at that point, I took in after speaking there, the president of the NBPA, he called me, and his name's Antonio Davis. Played in the NBA for a long time. And he said, hey, man, that speech was amazing, man. He said, hey, I got that tattooed on me, what you was talking about, choice, decision, consequences. He said, man, I want you to talk to the NBA rookies on the topic it will be called Embracing Manhood. And I was like, okay. He's like, but nah, it ain't like our camp. Nah, it don't pay the same. The pay over there is $1,500 because it's the NBA. It's a great opportunity. And I said, hey, say no more. Like it's cool. The money don't matter. And truthfully, honestly, the money did not matter because I said, how long you want me to talk? He said 20 minutes. I'm like, man, I'm working 40 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month to bring home $1,300. You offer me $1,500 to talk for 20 minutes. Living my purpose. I spoke to that class, that rookie class. That was the class of John Wall. I think DeMarcus Cousins. That was that class. And them guys, a lot of them connect with me. It's 60 guys you talking to, about 30 of them asked me for my phone number. And then guess what? They brought me back. 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. And then in 2015, I was hired full time as a consultant for an NBA team that I'm not allowed to say contractually. And so when I started working with a team, then I could no longer work with the NBPA. And so, but all in between that time now, because I skip a lot of stuff, but from 2010, that's when my career started to go. That's when it started. So in 2011, by that time, 2011, I had been an author since 2007. So I had been an author for 4 years. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So 4 years. February 1st, 2011 made 4 years. In 2011, I went to EEOC on my company because I needed to take off 2 days for something. And they told me no. But they was approving vacation for other people. So I went to EEOC, filed a claim, got us a little settle, little suit, little settle, nothing, you know, you can't retire off of it. It wasn't nothing. And I did that in the end of 2010, actually. Or no, I didn't. I think the first payment was December, then January, then February. 3 payments. They just added to my paycheck. And, you know, because I won the claim, we came to that settlement. They wanted to pay me in for me to quit. And I said, no, I'm going to leave when I get ready to leave. And I'm getting ready to leave y'all anyways. Because by this time, I had been on Oprah, Tyra, 700 Club. My coworkers were looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, that ain't make me no money. I'm like, Oprah don't pay you to come on her show. Tyra Banks don't pay you to come on her show. Tyra Banks showed my book to the world, but my royalties check still said 70 books sold. So that's not going to change your life. That's $320. That ain't going to change my life. So that's why I'm here working. I got a wife and a son. I got to take care of my family. That's why I'm in here working. So I was in there working. I wasn't trying to just ride off in no sunset. And then I talked to my homeboy. And then I had built my Twitter. By 2011, my Twitter had 50,000. I think I was at 50,000 followers on Twitter. I started building it March 25th. I got on Twitter because my friend from high school told me to get on Twitter because I went on Oprah March 19th, 2009. Then that was a Thursday. The next Tuesday, which would have been Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. On the 24th, I filmed Tyra Banks. Here's the irony. On the 24th, when I filmed Tyra Banks, Steve Harvey was live on Tyra Banks talking about his book, The 90-Day Rule, all that. So for me, that was like that was crazy. I'm like, how am I in the back room and I'm listening to Steve Harvey on the stage? And he is a author of a love and relationship book. And it talk about the 90-day rule. And I wrote the 3-month rule in 2007. For me, it was kind of like God saying to me, listen, boy, I'm going to use you and I want you to show this. So I'm putting you in the same place with no PR. You know, at that time, Steve Harvey's morning show had 7 million listeners. So he was huge. I got on Oprah and Tyra off my own pitches from Steve Harrison teaching about what you call a timely pitch, where when something happens in the media, if you have written about that in your book, you can then pitch yourself and the media deems you an expert on that subject because you lived what they talking about in the media. And so I used that and I crafted my own pitches and I pitched every day. And that's how I got on Oprah and Tyra Banks and the 700 Club, using a timely pitch. And it worked. And I told Steve later, I said, hey man, it's because of you I was able to get on Oprah, Tyra Banks, to tell my story. He emailed me back. He said, Tony, I don't see your name in any of my courses. I said, because I didn't, or any of my seminars. Because I didn't take any of your stuff. I heard you say this on a free teleseminar you did. And he was like, wow, well, okay, well, congratulations. You know, he's like, I can't share your success story with my audience because you never paid for nothing. And so I ain't had no money to pay for nothing. But it was them free teleseminar. They tell you all the business. And then at the end, they selling something for $1,400. Child, please. I got to go. I ain't even make $1,400. So I invest in the way that I could. Invest my time. If I could get a little book or something, $20, you know, something like that, I'll do that. But I ain't no $1,400. I only made $1,360 a month. and our bills was $2,500. So we were upside down. We ain't had no furniture in our living room. We had one little TV in the bedroom, but people was looking at me and thought I was living this glamorous lifestyle because they saw me with Oprah, a picture of me and Oprah. But I was in the trenches, serving. But then guess what? When people started retweeting me, they was retweeting stuff that had nothing to do with relationships. Like Missy Elliott started following me. She had 1 million followers. She retweeted a tweet that I tweeted that said, negative people need drama like oxygen. Stay positive because it'll take their breath away. Missy Elliott made that go viral. Another one, I said people hate you for 1 or 3 reasons. 1, they want to be you. 2, this right here. 3, I can't remember it because I would tweet in the moment. I would tweet as I'm pulling up to work. I remember one time I pulled up to work and I tweeted. I'm getting ready to go into work and I tweeted, if you don't build your dream, someone will hire you to build theirs, to help them build theirs. I tweeted it, bad grammar like I taught. And that thing went viral because it started being all these blog sites, and then these guys started running these parody accounts. So if you had rich content, retweetable content, they would hook up to your channel and they would repost everything that you do. They would repost everything that you tweeted, and so they were sending my quotes viral because they had accounts that had 500,000 million people. And then all celebrities started following me. It started with Alicia Keys. She retweeted me. But then everybody else. Then it was Rev Run had to shout me out because he was his account was stealing my tweets without saying my name. I called them out, whoever was running it, and then they shouted me out and said, when you mess up, fess up. They shouted me out. And so from there, it was like it started just going. But again, guess what? If a young black man, I remember this young lady, she DM'd me. She said, hey, my boyfriend is Rob Hill Sr. I'm going to say his name just to make the story real. She said, he does what you do, or he wants to do what you do. I looked at his page, and every time typically when I would see a young black man's page using quotes, I would see some of my quotes that he done used without quoting me. When I went to Rob page, the whole page was original. I was impressed. I was like, whoa. But what I didn't realize, he was a poet, not a relationship coach, not a life coach, not an author at the time. He was a poet. He was a writer. And so I tweeted, and I had never done this. He had 500 followers. I tweeted, hey, stop what you're doing and go follow Rob Hill Sr. Sitting and talking to him later, and he said, yeah, when you did that, he said, I remember. He got over 1,000 followers immediately because at that time I was that man. He later went through his issues and his life and stuff like that. We didn't keep in touch or anything. He was doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and but people started seeing him as a love coach, but he didn't necessarily call himself that. He was a writer. He's a writer, and then he got speaking engagement and all that, and he did good, but he never felt like that was like his purpose of calling to be a life coach or anything like that. And then somebody sent me a clip of when he was saying why he not a life coach, because he don't want to charge people for them to get better in their life or something like that, because he don't want his income to be dependent on somebody's growth. And I was like, that's a good point, but that's because he don't know what life coaching is. He think that life coaching is being with somebody for years. No, life coaching, you do 4 sessions. Some people at the most do 12 sessions, and then it's like learn how to ride a bike. Now you know how to ride a bike, then you go on about your business, and then you may check in once or twice a year. Some people may, but it's like your income not dependent on somebody's growth, because it's not counseling or therapy. You're not dealing with childhood trauma and all of that. You're not supposed to do that in life coaching. Childhood trauma and abuse and all those things should only be touched on if you are a therapist, a counselor, or a therapist. As a life coach, we're doing about, with motivated individuals who set a goal, and then we help them map it out, and then you hold them accountable. Goal accomplished, okay, they about their business. They're going about their business. And then you can help more people. And so, a lot of people didn't understand life coaching because it wasn't a thing. It wasn't really a thing. But these young black men, they started to see me doing it. And then some older black men started to see me doing it because my page was going viral. And then in 2012, my partner had me get on Facebook. And then my Facebook went viral. My whole goal, this is what I said to myself. I said, I don't want to tweet about what I'm doing or what I'm eating. I want to tweet quotes that will touch and change somebody's life. I did that, and social media just took it from there. And so what happened is, now in 2011, my partner came to me, the same guy. He's a white man, white male. He two grades under me. I transferred to a private school to play basketball because I got arrested in 9th grade for stealing with my homeboy. And so when my AAU coach came to my parents and said, hey, look, it's a coach in town. He looking for some players. Your son, the only one on our team that got the grades, and y'all the only family that possibly can afford to go there. They let us in for $50 a month. You supposed to pay $800 or $900 a month. They let us in for $50 a month. My parents couldn't even afford that. They defaulted on that payment. And one of the parents ended up paying it for me. But I played basketball, 18 points a game. In 11th grade, they started football. I led the county in rushing, averaged 10.2 yards a carry. Had over 1,500 yards on like 140 carries. So over 10 yards a carry that I averaged. And I had this young homeboy. He was the white guy. He was 2 grades under me. And his family, very wealthy family, because it was a private school, so all the families are wealthy unless you there like me on financial aid. He told me to get on Twitter. I had no plans of getting on Twitter. I didn't even know what Twitter was. I was trying to just tell my story, and I was only using Facebook and MySpace. At some point, MySpace went away. I can't remember what year. But then, after I worked at Twitter, and he saw me get on there, and he saw me build that Twitter. From zero, when I got on there, the first day I got on there, they ask you to sync with your contacts, and it'll have you follow all of your contacts that's on Twitter. It was people I knew and I went to college with that was already on Twitter who knew what Twitter was. I didn't even know what Twitter was. When I looked up, I realized that Twitter was started in like 2 years before, like 2007. I had no clue Twitter exists. March 25th, I got on there. That was the day after I recorded Tyra Banks. And he said, you need to get on this thing called Twitter because you're doing all this cool stuff and you need to be documenting this. I said, okay, I'll do that. So I dropped on there. Quickly, I did not like it. And I started doing the quotes. 2011, he came to me and he said, what is it going to take? He said, what is it going to take for you to go to the next level? I said, man, I need to get off this job. And I ain't got much time. I got to go in 14 minutes. I got to coach. I said, man, I got to get off the job. He said, how much you making a year? I said, my last W-2 say $19,900. He said, okay, I'll give you $20,000. I said, huh? Because at this time, I'm 27. No. 2010, 26, 2011. Yeah. I'm 26 still. I'm 26. And then 26. I'm forgetting my age. I'm 26 or 27. And I'm like, so he like a year younger than me or 2 years younger. Like in age, I think like 1 year and a half or something. But in grades, he was 2 grades under me. And so I'm like, what 25-year-old have $20,000 to give away? I'm in the negative every day on my bank account at that time. And so, and then I got greedy because, just the hood in me. I'm like, man, better have to do a little shopping now. So I said, hey, let's do 35,000. Because I needed 15 to play with now. I needed 15 to change my situation. Because we were living in an apartment, decent neighborhood, $935 a month. But when he made that investment, I moved us into a gated neighborhood, in a house, in a gated neighborhood where NFL players live at. The rent was $1,550 a month. So I jumped our rent up $650. I had to grind. And see, here's the thing. I'm living, got a little lake behind us, And he said, okay, I'll do 35. I'll do 35,000 for 35%. I asked my wife, I asked my best friend, I asked my daddy. Everybody said absolutely take that, because you got to remember, like, when you come from nothing, you can't imagine somebody cutting you a check for $35,000 to help you change your life. You can't imagine that. And so that's why I pay him now monthly. He get dividends because he changed my life. But see, look, this the problem when you looking from the outside and you looking in and you think everything is about money and you think everything is about fame. I had a passion and a heart to serve and a desire to serve, and that's what I was trying to do. I had no blueprint. I had no role model. I had no mentors. I had no guidance in the space that I was going in. I didn't know any authors. I didn't know any speakers. Nobody had done what I was trying to do. I couldn't touch nobody physically. But then I became the blueprint. And I started seeing young men pop up. You know, a brother popped up. I ain't gonna say his name and all that, just because on his side it's a little negative. A brother popped up and people started saying his name, but this was like 2012. Hey, you know, I Googled a brother. I seen a mug shot. I was like, he got a mug shot? I Googled him probably last year. That mug shot gone, so I'm guessing he got it expunged after his brand got big. Got over 1 million, followers, and no, not the gentleman who y'all been talking about. It's another gentleman. He had a mugshot. I clicked on the mugshot. It said domestic violence. I was like, wow. So he a relationship coach and he done been arrested for this? Now, I'll say 80% of men go through a physical incident in some relationship in their life. I would say 80% of men go through that. I'm not sure the percentage of women. I would assume probably 90% of women or 95% of women go through some kind of physical incident in one of their relationships in their life. It don't have to be knockdown, drag out. It could be pushing, it could be shoving, it could be a slap, it could be a pinch, some type of physical incident. But the brother here had a mugshot for it, and I was like, okay. And he was single. He's still single to this day, to my knowledge. I've never seen a wife. But the guy talk on love and write books on love. I've never seen a wife. And it's not the guy that y'all been talking about who this stuff came out. And so for me, with my indiscretion and my weakness and me having wandering eyes, for me, this was before I had a platform. This was before I was full-fledged into the work, when I was lost and confused. When I got a platform, like a platform, you weren't finna catch me in nothing, because I'm like, no, I got too much to lose, man. People counting on me. So I was developing myself and working on myself and building myself. I'm listening to audiobooks and podcasts, Zig Ziglar, 10 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes more. And so I seen this brother over here, boom, seen a mug shot, okay. The gentleman y'all been throwing his name, stop putting people's name in the comments. If I don't say their name, don't say their name in the comments. You know what I mean? Don't do that, because I'm intentionally, certain people's name I say because it's not bashing them and it's not nothing negative to them. It ain't throwing no dirt on their name. It's just a real life story. The other gentleman, I didn't hear of him. I don't know. It could have been 2014 or something. I don't know, 2015. But and the other gentleman, it could have been that around that time too, 13 or 14. But it was like 2011 or 12 when I heard of Rob Hill. And I shouted him out. And you got to realize at that time, every celebrity followed me. Now, everybody couldn't support me because I went off on Rev Run. So Angela Simmons couldn't support me. So she started supporting Rob Hill. She retweeted him to the nonstop. Rihanna could not support me because I went and told my story of a physical incident that I had in college. Even though it was nowhere near like hers, I know she watched that Oprah episode because it was about her and Chris Brown. So Rihanna could not support me. So who did she support? Rob Hill. She tweeted him to no end. Angela Simmons tweeted him to no end. And then after that, it was like all the celebrities kind of supported both of us. And our brands was just growing. But I was married and he was his girlfriend who wrote me, but he never came out with her, and I think they eventually broke up. And then, you know, for the most part, I knew him as a single man until LaToya Luckett. And I already knew LaToya Luckett. I already knew her, you know, she followed me, I already knew her. But I didn't know she was dating him. And so from after that, other guys started popping up. I see this guy over here. If you're working from your heart, you know what heart work looks like. If you're working from your heart. I see this guy over here. Oh, nah, he don't look right. I see this guy over here. Nah, he don't look right. I see this guy over here. No, he don't look right. I see the. No, he don't look right. So I'm seeing dude after dude after dude after dude. All these people start becoming a relationship coach. I was like, oh my goodness. 2015, I retired from relationship coaching because it was so many people that was doing it that I knew they was fake. And I'm like, listen, I done made mistakes in my life, but if I slip and fall, I'm slipping and falling. Okay, I'm brushing it off. I'm getting up, and I'm not making the same mistake again. But I'm like, I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, stuff ain't checking out. I'm like, bro, why you don't never post no woman? Like, you talking about love, 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 love. I need to see a woman. I need to see who you giving this love that you know so much about. I need to see who you giving this love to. You see what I'm saying? But I know what that feel like. I know what that's like because when I first got on Twitter, I didn't talk about my wife from 2009 to like 2011 because I was always being told keep business separate from family and all of this. But then I realized, I say, listen, that ain't good advice because if you live in something, you need to show that you live in it. Like if you talking about something, you need to show that you live in it. So if you teaching about getting money, then you need to show that you got you some money. Don't be talking about getting money if you broke, busting, and disgusted. So don't be talking about love and relationship if you single or if you hiding your relationship. So that's when I was like, you know what? That ain't good advice that I've been hearing and seeing because it was in every industry. Men was supposed to keep their woman in hiding because people would say it's bad for business. I said, look, I'm gonna take my shot. I'm gonna take my chances. If it's bad for business, those ain't people I want to have around me. And I was meeting different tests. I was meeting women, and when I tell you, I thought I knew everything about love and relationship. I met women who were real sly, who came in. They had a vision. They had a plan. They knew what they wanted, and I ain't know what they wanted. And boy, look here. When it finally hit me, I'm like, whoa. So women play games now. Women play games too. I talk about the games men play because I'm a man. I fully understand that. I tell y'all all the time, the reason why I can't talk too much to men is because I don't fully understand women. Because it was women trying to game me, trying to play me, trying to trap me, trying to seduce me. And a lot of times in the beginning, you don't see it coming. But then I got hip to it. And I was able to start trying to heal, start trying to grow, start trying to learn, and I got better at it, and I kept seeing it happen. So about 2015, I retired from relationship coaching. I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, man, it's too many people. It's too many people, and it's so many fake people that it's making me look fake. People calling me the same name they calling these other guys, and they lumping me in with these other guys. And I'm like, I'm married. I'm faithful to my wife. You know, I'm doing the right thing. I was like, I don't understand how these guys getting speaking engagements and writing books and selling and making money, and they not even showing a wife. I'm like, what? I'm like, how in the world is this working? So it demoralized me because I'm like, I'm out here living right and authentic, and I'm being bashed for, oh, you fake, you a scam artist, you all this. I'm like, what? And really what it was is because if guys was messing up and doing stuff, all the women that they messing over, all the women know 10 other women, so they just spread, oh, these coaches this, these coaches that, these coaches that. And then it's like, if I take and I'm nice to a woman, oh Tony flirting. One lady, she wrote me, she said, Tony, why you only DM me when you have a question? And I was like, man, because my timeline is for motivation, not conversation. So when I DM you, I'm not just DMing you. I DM every single person that retweet me twice. She thought I was trying to holler at her because that's what they was thinking. They waiting on the failure. They waiting on you to shoot your shot. They waiting on you to do that. So I'm like, oh, you can't even have interaction with people because they'll try to take it and flip it into something. And so the women that was doing stuff with different people, they telling everybody, oh, this coach do this coach do that. So now in the industry, it's like, oh, everybody fake. Everybody gonna make some type of stupid choice in their lifetime, but there are people who can heal and grow and change, but nobody believe that. So I started talking about business. I started talking about entrepreneurship and business, and I just started doing that. And I started doing that, but that's not what my fan base, audience, what they call it, fan base. I never used the term follower or fan. That's my audience, what I call them supporters. That's not, even though only 1%, less than 1% was actually supporting, I just say supporters. That's not what they were there for. They wanted relationship stuff. So everything fell off. Everything fell off. And this was probably 2015, 16, 17, up in that time frame. And I remember talking to my wife, and she was like, I was like, baby, I just ain't feeling it. Like, I just ain't feeling like it's so many fakes. There's so many people that, they doing the same. I know they out here doing it. And women started hiring me talking about this coach and that coach. So I'm like, they ain't living right. They ain't doing right. This drink is making me look bad. And then she said, listen, she said, you done stop talking about love and relationships, and now this person is on the throne doing this. She said, if you know you living right and you don't feel he's living right, then why would you stop doing what you're called to do because somebody who's not called to do it just came and started doing it? And I said, wow. So I had got on Facebook by that time. It had went viral, over 1 million people on there. My wife, she told me to get on Instagram. She said, get on Instagram. I do not like social media. So every time I got on social media, somebody else got me on there. I got on Instagram. At that time, the gentleman, that we was talking about, I got on there. I had 0 people on Instagram, of course. One of the other, coaches out there had 400,000. My wife, she said, do what you call to do. She said, do what you call to do and don't worry about nobody else that's doing it. Don't worry about if they not living right, if they ain't doing that. And I started doing it. Probably a year, maybe a year in, 2 years in, my Instagram had caught and passed the other gentleman. And my wife pointed out to me, she said, you see what happened? He had 400,000 when you got on. But she was like, people gonna be able to tell who genuine. She was like, yes, you've made mistakes in your life. I've made mistakes in ours. She was like, but we did that as young, in our early 20s. We talked about that. We healed. We grow. We worked through our power struggle. She was like, but you living what you preaching. You faithful to me. She was like, I know you done had wandering eyes in our beginning. She knew that what a man struggled with. But she said, I could tell that you've changed your life and you're not the man you were before you met me, or while we were struggling and while we was in our button heads trying to see who gonna be the head of the household. And so she told me to do that. And when I got back into it and I started sharing the wisdom that God had given me and speaking from my heart on where I wanted to help at, that's when my career took off. But it started with my business partner getting me off my job, not from money that I was making. Not from my platform. It was no money. It was, I had support. And then when I ran out of money, he would help me. He would loan to my business. Do a business loan to my business. So then people saw me living life and they thought that it was money. They saw me being able to live and operate and do videos in the middle of the day, so I'm not working, do videos at night, so I'm not working, or post all day. So they could tell like, oh, he don't work for nobody else. But what they didn't realize is I had a investor that was supporting me. Y'all gotta forgive me because this light shining in me. I just got a haircut and boy, get your face oily. I had an investor that was supporting me, and he was backing me, and then to the point where, hey, get to where your books, your courses, your speaking engagements, and then you could pay me back. And that's what the deal was. So people saw it and they saw it like, oh, he got money. But then realized that my money, I had a angel investor who was like an earth angel to me. I'm late for my call, and so that's how this here started. And so with all the stuff that's going on and everything like that right there, I wanted to share this story again on just how my career came about, how I developed for the people who watching and hating and think that everybody came in with fangs and just to try to take advantage of lonely women with this huge monetization strategy on how they could get rich. I want you to understand that that's not the truth for everybody. And you can't just see that with somebody and then just apply it to everybody, because it's not the truth. And everybody made bad business decisions, made bad life decisions. But the key is when you make a bad decision, do you learn from it and not make that decision again? Or do you continue to do the same thing over and over? And that's what I started to see. I'm like, I turn over a new leaf in my life, but I'm seeing guys who I keep hearing their name about what they doing and how they treating women, but they represent something else. And I'm like, it was draining me. It was draining me because I'm like, I know I'm getting lumped in. I know my name getting spoken with the other people. And I'm living a total different lifestyle, but people cannot tell on the internet the real from the fake 9 out of 10 times. People can't tell it. You all get lumped in together. And so it started to bother me to where I'm like, man, well, what if a woman want to come out and tell about an escapade that I had, 2 decades ago? People will treat it like it just happened today because of what's going on in other people's situation. In this pastor situation, this author situation, this speaker situation, this artist situation. I'm like, so it's like we don't even have room to grow and change, because whenever somebody want to do an expose, people are treated like it happened yesterday. And so that's what really, it started to demoralize me, because I'm like, if guys ain't gonna come in with a genuine heart and live right and do the right thing and change from the man they used to be, then it's gonna hurt everybody, even the pure people who really trying to help. And then my message gonna be falling on deaf ears, because everybody thinking, oh, he doing the same thing such and such doing to me. Because it may be this woman over here and she getting cheated on or dogged out by this coach or this speaker or this author or this whoever. And if I do what he do, she assuming I do the same thing. So she can't trust me either, but she don't know me. And if this woman over here or this man over here knows this guy over here personally and what he do, they telling everybody they meet about what he do. So everybody they meet and everybody they talk to, everybody telling 3 people. So then everybody think that because he doing this still and have not changed, that now me and whoever else is doing the same exact thing because we all of the same race, or we all sound alike, or we all say similar stuff. So now everybody got to be doing the same thing. And so that right there, that's honestly was my development and my maturation as a man, and just how my career came about, and just the steps in the process. It is not an overnight thing. There's a lot of days in trenches. It was a lot of years. There was no income in there. There was nothing that you could hang your hat on. My income came from my friend taking me off my job by investing in me, and then that gave me my 40 hours a week. I then could serve and work on my purpose, work on my business model, work on my building, my companies, without having to work for somebody else. That's how I started to earn. And that's what I want people to understand, that the industry itself is pure. Being a life coach, being an author, being a speaker, that's a pure space. Don't not do it. Like my wife told me, don't not do it because some people do it and make bad choices while doing it. Don't not serve your purpose because somebody else has squandered their purpose in the moment. others, people that done fell from grace, they may get back up and turn over a new leaf and change and go on to do great things in their purpose, whatever their purpose may be. He, she, him, her, pastor, author, speaker, coach, real estate, whoever that you follow online, that you've seen, fall. They may bounce back from that. But if you called to be in that space, to be in that industry, don't be discouraged and not do it because you seen somebody else have personal failures. So, hey, this Tony Gaskin. God bless you. And just like this whole video from my heart, you'll have a whole lot of people that take it and twist it and pull something out there and add something to it and turn it into something that I ain't say. And that's just the nature of how things work. And so at the same time too, if when you see people online and that's talking, you got to understand that when people put themselves out there, you put yourself out there to be scrutinized, to be criticized, to be talked down about, to be talked bad about with people that ain't never met you, people that don't know you, or people that could be labeling you and holding something against you because of what they have against somebody else who do something similar to what you do. And you got to understand that. And you can't expect anybody to defend you. It'll be people that, will be throwing my name and stuff and bad mouthing me. And I see my clients in their comments clapping it up for them, supporting them. And I'm like, wow. So you can't expect anybody to believe that you have grown or that you have changed or that you operating with a good heart. You can't expect that. And at the same time too, though, we should never put humans on a pedestal. We should never idolize humans. We should never worship humans. We should never think that anybody is, too big to fail. We should never think that. And instead, if you want to see somebody win, what we should be doing is praying for their strength, for their wisdom, for their clarity, for their growth, and just pushing forward like that. And then using your life to be that example. You work on your life so that everybody you come in contact with, you are a walking ministry. You are a living testimony to everybody who comes in contact with you of that. This is what growth looks like. This is what healing looks like. This is what change looks like. This is what purpose looks like. Hey, this is Tony Gaskin. God bless you. To my client, please forgive me, I'm 10 minutes late. But I had to get it off my heart. We'll talk soon.